Hohem recently released their new smartphone gimbal, the iSteady M7. The iSteady M7 has everything that was great in the M6, except now they've added even more cool stuff. In my opinion, this is the best smartphone gimbal ever made. And in this video, I'm going to show you why. So smartphone gimbals are generally divided into three categories. There's small, lightweight gimbals that often fold up so you can throw them in the corner of your bag and you won't even notice they're there. And then you've got regular smartphone gimbals that are a bit bigger, they're a bit heavier, they take a little bit longer to set up, but they can handle heavier setups and they offer greater movement flexibility. And then we've got hybrid gimbals which can carry smartphones as well as regular cameras. And now they're even bigger and generally take a little bit longer to set up even than the regular smartphone gimbals, but they can carry bigger payloads, and as well you're going to need one if you want to keep your phone in a cage. So the Hohem iSteady M7 is in that middle category, and so we can compare it to similar gimbals that are like the Zhiyun Smooth 5 or the FeiyuTech Scorp Mini P. But actually in this video I'm going to also talk about smaller gimbals like the DJI Osmo Mobile 6 and the Insta360 Flow Pro. And we're going to see how they compare to the iSteady M7. So smartphone gimbals with 3 motorized axes, they've been around for like 8 years now. And it seems like a lot of companies have kind of given up trying to make them any better. DJI, for example, hasn't even released a new smartphone gimbal for over 2 years now. But in the meantime, Hohem have kept on innovating and they've kept on coming up with new exciting ideas. So I'm a big fan of Hohem for that reason. And Hohem have taken a kind of new approach to the iSteady M7 because it seems like they wanted to move away from the reliance on the app that comes with the gimbal, which I really think is a good idea because there's often some issues with the app that comes with the gimbal. It's not always fully compatible with everybody's smartphone, for example. So what Hohem have done with the iSteady M7 is allow us to use other apps with the gimbal. We've had integrations with apps before. For example, the Zhiyun and the DJI gimbals have some integration with the Filmic Pro app. And this allows users to control things like ISO and shutter speed with the gimbal controls. But actually, to be honest, I never really found that much use. And as well, since Filmic Pro switched to their subscription model, a lot of people have quit using it and they've now switched over to the Blackmagic app. So rather than integrate with specific third-party apps, Hohem have designed the M7 so that you can basically use it with any third-party app or any camera app. And as well, you can use it for live streaming with apps such as Instagram and TikTok. And the advantage of this is that a certain app might have features that you need that the gimbal app doesn't have. For example, you might want to shoot Apple Log ProRes using the Blackmagic app, or even using the native app of your iPhone. And the other thing is that you might just be more familiar using other apps and you don't want to have to learn to use the features of a new app. So how exactly have they done this? What Hohem has done is they've introduced features that work with or without the Hohem Joy app. For example, they've added these A to B buttons which allow you to program a gimbal movement. So you might prefer to record a time lapse with your native app or with the Blackmagic app or with another app. And you can use these A to B buttons to add a movement during the time lapse. With most other gimbals, you'd have to use the app that comes with the gimbal. The AI tracking unit also works independently of the Hohem Joy app. So this means that you can track a subject or an object, whilst at the same time using the native camera app of your smartphone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, it doesn't matter. And you can also use the Blackmagic app, for example, or whatever app that you prefer to use. And like I say, you can use Instagram and TikTok for live streaming and keep yourself in shot using this tracking unit. The Insta360 Flow Pro actually allows you to do something similar using Apple's Docket technology. But the downside is that you do need to have an iPhone. So the Zhiyun Smooth 5 also has a detachable AI tracking unit that works independently of the app, and it does work pretty similarly to the M7 AI tracking unit. But the one difference is that the Zhiyun tracking unit is just a tracking unit, whereas the Hohem iSteady M7 tracking unit is also a fill light. A few years ago, Zhiyun sent me a gimbal that had a cool little touch screen on it. And that was the Crane M3. I really expected that they would work on that and develop it and turn it into a cool little feature. but it didn't really happen. So the touchscreen on the M7 is that idea, but fully realized now. This is the kind of touchscreen that you get on an action camera, and it's full of useful features and settings. Here you've got all the important information for the gimbal, and it's clearly presented. The gimbal's current mode is in the left corner of the screen. Compare that to the Zhiyun Smooth 5, which just has these very basic indicator lights for the modes, and in sunlight you're really going to struggle to see which light is on. So you can use this physical mode button to cycle through the modes, just like a normal gimbal. Or you can use the touchscreen. And I really prefer being able to simply choose which motors follow your movement, which is what you can do now with this custom mode. So let's just say I've just captured a tilt shot, and then for the next shot I don't want the camera to tilt. With this, I don't have to try and remember which mode doesn't follow tilt mode. All I have to do is just switch off the tilt motor. This is quicker, and to my mind, it's a more logical way of controlling how your gimbal operates. Rather than trying to learn and remember which mode does what, just tell the gimbal directly what you want it to do. We can use the touchscreen to change what the control wheel does. The motor balance screen tells us whether the gimbal is balanced correctly. And the scenario screen gives us a bunch of other features. For example, if you find the A to B buttons a little bit confusing, you can actually use the time-lapse screen to program a movement instead. And this is easier to see what you're actually doing. Not only do we have this very clear touchscreen, but this is detachable, and this can then be used as a remote. And now we can control all this stuff from a distance if we need to. If you're someone like me, creating content on your own, then having a remote is extremely useful. You can start or stop recording remotely with any camera app. You can take photos with any camera app. You can set up tracking. You can pan and tilt the gimbal with the joystick. And that's just a few examples of what you can do. As far as I know, there's only one other gimbal on the market with a detachable remote like this, and that is the Hohem iSteady V3. So if you like this idea, but you'd rather have a small fold-up gimbal, then check out my video on the V3. The Hohem iSteady M7 has a recommended max payload of 500 grams, which is 100 grams more than the M6. Gimbals like the iSteady V3, the Zhiyun Smooth 5, Insta360 Flow Pro, the DJI Osmo Mobile 6, they've all got around a 300 gram max payload. The only smartphone gimbal that compares is the FeiyuTech Scorp Mini P, and that has a slightly higher max payload of 520 grams. New for the M7 is an extending handle. It is a bit shorter than those of the gimbals like the Osmo Mobile 6 and the Flow Pro, but you can also fold up the tripod legs and grip it from there. So an extending handle can be used for a variety of uses. Taking a selfie, filming yourself, and getting low and high angles. And you can also use it for crane shots and for those fake drone style shots. Compared to similar gimbals like the Smooth 5 and the Scorp Mini P, neither of those gimbals have extending handles. When it comes to setup time, the iSteady M7 is pretty similar to the other gimbals that are in the same bracket, like the Zhiyun Smooth 5 and the FeiyuTech Scorp Mini P. You've got to balance the arm with those as well, so yeah, there's no difference there. But it is quicker to set up than using a hybrid gimbal. The smaller fold-up gimbals tend to be quicker to set up. And as well, gimbals like the Insta360 Flow Pro and the DJI Osmo Mobile 6 have magnetic clamps and a MagSafe mounting option as an extra purchase. With the iSteady M7, you have to use the smartphone clamp. When you switch from horizontal to vertical, you're going to need to twist the clamp and rebalance, like with the comparable gimbals. But with the small gimbals, you can actually switch between vertical and horizontal at the press of a button. Now, an advantage that the Hohem iSteady M7 has over the smaller gimbals is that it has greater axis flexibility. Gimbals like the Flow Pro and the OM6 are going to be limited on the tilt axis. And this means that to capture something like a crane shot, you're going to need to do a sideways movement. And if you want your smartphone to be locked on the tilt axis, which is useful for tracking a subject, for example, or just filming a shot where you move in a straight line, with the small gimbals, you only have to move the gimbal a small way before it forces the smartphone to tilt. By comparison, the Hohem iSteady M7 can tilt the gimbal pretty much as far as you want while keeping your phone pointing at the same angle. Both the Hohem iSteady M7 and the Insta360 Flow Pro allow a full 360-degree movement while tracking. And this basically means that you can keep moving around the gimbal as much as you want. On the other hand, the DJI Osmo Mobile 6 has a limited movement when tracking. So if you move past that limit, the gimbal is going to stop following you. When it comes to battery life, how does the Hohem iSteady M7 compare to other gimbals? Of the gimbals that I've talked about today, the worst performer is the Osmo Mobile 6 with a battery runtime of approximately 6.4 hours. The Insta360 Flow Pro battery can last up to 10 hours. The Scorp Mini P can last 11 hours, while the M7 is the same as the Smooth 5 with a 12-hour runtime. The Hohem iSteady V3 does the best with up to 13 hours of battery life. So in my honest opinion, the Hohem iSteady M7 just seems to be streets above the regular smartphone gimbals, and it has a number of advantages over pretty much all smartphone gimbals. With that touchscreen, it really does add this extra dimension. It turns your gimbal into almost a completely different device now. And if you're trying to decide which gimbal you should get, I think it's pretty simple. If you want a fold-up gimbal that's small and lightweight, then the M7 isn't for you. If you don't want a small fold-up lightweight gimbal, then the M7 is for you because it just beats all the other competition. And if you want to become a video creator pro, then you can join us on Patreon, where I have got tons of courses and video lessons. We've got chat where we can all share ideas, and you can join for free right now. So head on over to Patreon, click the link to the M7, and buy yourself the best smartphone gimbal in the world.